Adolf Hitler's deal with the devil. World War II is referred to by many as the First World Occult War. This video is intended to familiarize you with a kind of ontological proof of reality of the famous treaty between Adolf Hitler and the devil, concluded by them on April 30th, 1932. Reality of the said treaty is conducted through the demonstration of the principal objective impossibility, unreality, of a number of events, which, nevertheless, took place in the biography of Hitler and Germany as a whole. Hitler's agreement with the devil, hoax or reality. It is no secret that, both from the side of Nazi Germany and from the opposing forces, the USSR and the Anglo-Saxon world, World War II was openly occult, carried out with the help, real or imaginary, of some higher forces of mutually opposite ethical orientation. It is known that in Germany alone, in the 30s to 40s, investments in advanced occult research, super-technological practices, and rituals, expeditions to places of power and other world centers of magical power, as well as the purchase or armed capture of various techno-magical artifacts, were quite commensurate with the total cost of the Wehrmacht to prepare for World War II. All these practices were blatantly misanthropic, at least in relation to the inferior peoples, and were carried out with the blessing and the most active participation of a Hitler. In this sense, the appearance in the world's public consciousness, at the disposal of historians and the general public, of a document positioned as Hitler's pact with the devil, see picture above, does not add anything new to the universal understanding of the moral character and overall ideological orientation of the leader of the Third Reich. Hitler's contract with the devil, dated April 30th, 1932, the eve of Walpurgis Night, and sealed with authentic, according to many experts, signatures of the contracting parties, gave the former unlimited political power, provided it was used for evil, for 13 years in exchange for his soul and body. In addition, there were other reciprocal obligations contained in the excerpt below. Our agreement is to take effect on April 30th, 1932, and expire on the same day in 1945. When my time finally expires, you shall let me die like all other men, without shame or dishonor, and be buried according to custom. You must carry me and my subjects to whatever part of the world I wish, however far away it may be. You must immediately make me proficient in the language of that place, so that I may speak it fluently. When my curiosity is sufficiently satisfied, you must bring me home unharmed. You must protect me from all injury caused by projectiles, firearms, and other weapons, so that nothing will harm my body or individual members. You must give me true and complete information, without distortion or ambiguity, on any question asked of you. You are obliged to warn me in advance of any secret conspiracies against me and the Reich, and to provide me with ways to destroy these conspiracies and bring them to naught. Every time I want you near me, you must appear before me in a pleasant appearance, not in an intimidating and horrible guise. In response to the above promises, I renounce the Lord and the blessed Trinity. I completely renounce all the vows made for me in baptism. I enter into a new union with you and surrender myself to your power, body, and soul, from this day forward and forever. In connection with the above, the question arises, how realistic is the treaty itself? Is it not an empty fabrication and mystification? Although all experience of rational understanding of the reality of each individual and of humanity as a whole simply screams against considering the very possibility of such contacts with the occult, to say nothing of the scale of Satan's influence on human history that follows from such an assumption, there are nevertheless arguments that are not so easily dismissed as irrelevant. The method by which the high probability of the truth of the thesis of the existence and exact fulfillment of this treaty by both parties will be argued below may be called the inverse probability method. The essence of this approach is to prove the complete impossibility, improbability, of a number of events that took place in real history without the active intervention of some higher occult forces. The same method can be applied to dozens of other known cases of human devil pacts, which resulted in people gaining extraordinary abilities, fabulous wealth, unlimited power, and other benefits. Examples: Dr. Faust, Niccolò Paganini, Robert Johnson, Theophilus of Antioch, Pope Sylvester II, Oliver Cromwell, Napoleon Bonaparte, John D. Rockefeller, many members of Rothschild clan, etc. Against this background, the treaty of a Hitler with the devil is not something super original in the semantic, occult, legal, and techno-magical plan. The only difference is in the scale and level of severity of Hitler's crimes against humanity and, besides, in the degree of improbability, absolute unnaturalness, of his biography, as well as the biography of Nazi Germany as a subject of the historical process. Let us begin with the question of the lightning-fast ascent of a Hitler to the heights of political power in Germany immediately after his alleged conclusion of the treaty with the devil. We should say at once that in reality it is not quite the case as described by the most active supporters of the version about a Hitler selling his soul to the devil. The latter, for example, a famous researcher of occultism, Greta Libris, present a Hitler as a kind of total loser who received all possible life bonuses only after signing a contract with the devil, April 30th, 1932. In particular, Greta Libris wrote in an article published in 1995 in Berlin. I have no doubts about the authenticity of the document. It helps solve the mystery of how Hitler managed to become the Führer of Germany. Judge for yourself. After all, until 1932 he was a failure. He was kicked out of high school. He twice failed at the examinations of the Academy of Art. He even went to jail. Everyone who knew him at that time thought he was good for nothing. But since 1932, his fate has abruptly changed. He literally catapulted into the seat of power and in January 1933 already ruled Germany. In my opinion, this can only be explained by an alliance with Satan. And on April 30th, 1945, exactly 13 years later, Adolf Hitler committed suicide, hated by almost all mankind. This is incorrect. By the alleged time of the treaty with Satan, April 30th, 1932, Hitler was already recognized and having no alternative as the leader of NSDAP, the supreme Führer of the SA, assault groups, brown shirts, paramilitary units of NSDAP, political favorite, the favorite of serious financial and industrial leaders of Germany, Great Britain, and the USA. The author of the System Forming for National Socialism book Mein Kampf, the candidate for a post of the Reich President of Germany. All of the above, of course, cannot be called total failures. But to the real, let alone absolute, power in Germany and in Europe as a whole, Hitler was still very far away. Considering the above, we can say that Hitler concluded a pact with the devil, if that event ever took place, not because of the hopelessness of his life situation. He had achieved much in his political career and without the direct help of Satan, but on the basis of full coincidence of his own ideas and goals with the views and intentions of his future patron. But, of course, it was important for Hitler to make his fairy tale breakthrough to power in Germany at any cost and to ensure an equally lightning-fast victory for Nazi Germany over its future military opponents, many times superior to the former in all kinds of resources. Therefore, satanic power was more than welcome. And here, immediately after the hypothetical signing by Hitler of the treaty with the devil on April 30th, 1932, all the most interesting and implausible begins. Already January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg, immediately after accepting the resignation of K. von Schleicher, appointed Hitler Reichschancellor, head of the cabinet of Germany. On June 30th, 1934, the Gestapo staged the Night of the Long Knives against the SA stormtroopers, during which over 1,000 brown shirts were slaughtered, including Ernst Röhm. In addition, many of Hitler's political opponents, in particular, Hitler's predecessor as Reich Chancellor, Kurt von Schleicher, and his wife, were also killed. On August 2, 1934, German President Hindenburg died at the age of 86. Immediately after this event, Adolf Hitler, abolishing the office of president, took over as head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Hitler became the Führer and demanded that all the personnel of the armed forces swear allegiance not to Germany but to him personally. On August 19, 1934, a referendum was held, following the results of which the changes of the political system of Germany were approved by almost 85% of the electorate. The main ideological pillars of Hitlerism were pan-Germanism, revanchism, and anti-Semitism. For a long time, Germany's leading politicians, above all Hindenburg, thought that they would be able to contain Hitler's political radicalism and expansionism, and they theoretically had every reason to believe this. However, they were wrong. Everything happened much more quickly than it would have in a natural setting. Adolf Hitler's rapid political ascent was accompanied by fantastic, totally improbable, luck in terms of avoiding personal danger. It is known that in 1932 to 1945 there were organized, by different calculations, from 20 to 50 attempts on him. In all cases, Hitler survived and escaped serious injury. Potentially the most successful, for its organizers, was the famous assassination attempt on July 20, 1944, which was aimed at making peace with the advancing Anglo-Saxon forces after the physical elimination of Führer. 4 people were killed in the bomb blast, but Hitler survived, although he was wounded. The last assassination attempt, July 20, 1944, showed that the time for the completion of the pact with the devil was near, April 30, 1945. No less phenomenal, paradoxical, and incredible looks a series of military and political victories of Hitler in Europe. 1936 to 1939, Germany actively supported the Frankists during the Spanish Civil War. In fact, in this case we are talking about a large-scale training of the German armed forces, which allowed, almost without resistance, to conquer many sovereign countries in Europe. So, on March 13, 1938, the Anschluss, annexation, of Austria to Germany took place. In late 1938, early 1939, the Czech Republic was occupied. In March 1939, Germany annexed the Klaipėda region of Lithuania. In August-September 1939, Poland was defeated. In April-May 1940, Germany occupied Norway, Denmark, Holland, Luxembourg, and Belgium, and invaded France. In June 1940, the Wehrmacht occupied Paris, and France capitulated. In the spring of 1941, Hitler's Germany occupied Greece and Yugoslavia. On June 22, 1941, Germany attacked the USSR. In the shortest possible time, German troops occupied the Baltic republics, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldavia, and the western part of the RSFSR. Human history had never before known such rates of absolutely victorious war against a multitude of countries, some of which were very strong economically and militarily. Of course, Hitler was greatly helped by the fact that the Soviet troops were a kind of political military constructor at the time of the Wehrmacht attack, the main ingredients of which, people, weapons, ammunition, fuel and lubricants, uniforms, provisions, etc., were far apart and had no chance to join together in time. Other fatal mistakes of the higher military political leadership of the USSR also played into his hands. But was it all an accident? Some unlikely, but natural processes? It seems that no. Suffice it to recall the First World War, which initially took a protracted nature and not even close to comparable with the Second World War in terms of the speed of the German army's advance across Europe and the swiftness of its victories. How is it possible, if we talk about rational explanations, that Germany, totally exhausted by the First World War and the enormous post-war reparations, not only was not inferior in total military power to its enemies, who had grown much stronger in 1917 to 1941, but in fact by the time the attack on Moscow began, had become the world's military hegemon without any alternative? I think this is completely inexplicable without appealing to the power of the evil one. Of course, since the battle and defeat near Moscow, September 30th, 1941 to April 20th, 1942, Hitler began to gradually lose the favor of the devil and his thunderous help in all battles and activities, but in general the devil has certainly fulfilled his part of the agreement, maintaining the absolute power of Adolf Hitler over Germany and most of its enslaved countries right up to the end of the agreement, April 30th, 1945. Absolute world power, and for an unlimited time, was not promised to Hitler, was not promised absolute world power, and for an unlimited time. So we have three groups of objective facts. 1. Adolf Hitler's fantastic luck in all aspects of his ascent to unlimited power in Germany after April 1932. 2. Hitler's even greater luck in surviving numerous attempts on his life. 3. The absolutely phenomenal luck of the German Führer in achieving numerous military victories with minimal losses over sufficiently strong opponents in conditions of multiple superiority of the latter in military, technical, and economic power. Could it all be an accident? Is it possible to win 1,000 times in a row playing on a technically sound roulette? The question is rhetorical. And at this point, when it becomes clear the degree of luck and occult power over reality necessary for everything created by Hitler, humanity is automatically divided into two parts. For some, Hitler instantly becomes the absolute genius of humanity, albeit evil, but great, a kind of Muggle Voldemort. And for others, Adolf Hitler, despite the absurdity of this assumption for atheists, becomes, due to the excessive phenomenality, according to the set of objective characteristics of his anti-human deeds, the real subject of the above-mentioned agreement with the devil. In other words, for many people it is psychologically much easier to believe in Hitler's pact with the devil than in the possibility of accidental, natural, occurrence of many thousands of uniquely favorable, for the German Führer, events and actually unpunished implementation of global crimes of such level of inhumanity by the will and mind of an individual. Everyone has to decide for himself. In the context of what I have said, a separate question for your pondering: what power must the devil have to manipulate the lives of billions of people and the fate of mankind as a whole so easily? And where is God at such moments in history? Or maybe all this is just a test of mankind's loyalty to the Almighty and some super significant ethical ideals, as in the case of Job, coordinated with God and implemented by Satan? Humanity as the cumulative biblical job, and Satan and Adolf Hitler are a tandem of exegetes. This is very plausible, but isn't it too crazy? One last question, not to Satan and Hitler, but to God. What would you like to see the next video on our channel about? Tell us in the comments.